to another episode of Chanel in the City. I'm your host, Chanel Omari, and I have such a special guest here today. She is a dear friend of the show, and I'm a huge fan of hers. She is an actress, a hilarious comedian. You've seen her do the famous housewife impressions like Ramona and Bethany Frankel on Andy Cohen's Watch What Happens Live. And she has a new awesome radio show that we're all obsessing over with on SiriusXM Radio Andy called Reality Check, where she covers daily comedic recaps of all things Bravo, which airs Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time and 1 p.m. Pacific Time. And she's also the author of the hit book, Cook It, Spill It, Throw It, the Not So Real Housewives parody cookbook. Please welcome my amazing, hilarious, and beautiful guest and friend, Amy Phillips. How are you?
Oh, what an intro! What an intro. Wow. I didn't know I was dealing with a professional lady here. Thank you for having me. I am elated. I felt like I got reacquainted with you when you're on Watch What Happens Live recently, which was so awesome, by the way.
Thank you so much, by the way. It was such a nice support also to hear from you. And like, cause that, I've been following you for so long and I've
Oh
been
my God,
following your
thanks.
impressions
Same.
because I'm in comedy myself. And I
Yep.
just think you're super, there's a lot of comedians and there's a lot of comedians that do impressions and we're going to get to it. But for some reason with you, I felt I connected a lot with not only just your impersonations of others, but yourself. You're very relatable and authentic and just, I love you. I think you're an awesome person.
Yeah. Oh my God. Thank you
That's
so
why
much.
when you
I
told
feel
me
like
that
we're going to be
compliment,
besties.
that's why when you told me that compliment, I was like, oh my God, she knows my podcast.
Yeah, I know. And you know what's so cool is that I remember also that you were on Real Housewives of New York.
Yes, yes.
And
With
that was epic because how many people, like, think about it, in the whole stratosphere of people that come into the show that aren't part of the cast or friends of technically have that have any kind of role on these reality shows,
yeah,
it's pretty few and far between.
yeah,
So for and also in an entertainment aspect of it. So the fact that you're on the stage and you're doing your podcast and you're with them and you're immersed and it's like your event that they're attending. It was next level. So I just was like, this is so cool. And I was so happy for you too.
thank
It's
you
very
so
full
much.
circle for your career. And learning about you too was very interesting. That we have that connection with radio. And I loved hearing that you have so much experience in radio beforehand doing your podcast and stand up and stuff like that. It's really interesting. And I know you'll have to come on my show and I'll have to ask you
I
more
know I would
questions
love
about.
to. Yeah, because I was gonna say, I think it's funny because, and I want to get into how you started your career because I know you were an actress. I've seen some of your
Yeah.
movies. You're a voiceover artist as well, and I think a lot of people don't realize that as entertainers, whether we do a reality show or we're doing, segments on a web series or a movie, the entertainment industry is so fickle. It's up and down that your
Yeah.
career I sometimes I felt like I was stigmatized as just a reality star, right? Or I don't know
Right.
if you ever feel that way in comedy where let's talk about like where did you get that your start really? Where did did you want to always do comedy? Did you always want to do acting? I mean, do you ever feel that way sometimes where you were like, I'm up, I'm down, I don't know if I'm ever going to make it. It's just nice to hear that you said thank you for
Yeah.
that compliment because a lot of people don't think I work that hard. They were like, "Oh, I never knew you had such a resume," you know?
Yes, and I think you're right because the way that if you're on a reality show and if they're not going to focus on where you it's in the present time. So if they're not following you to your job or following you doing every single thing, there's no way for the audience to know what kind of background you have. They're going to be telling a whole different story. And it's like completely out of your hands. So yeah, it is really interesting to get to know you on that level. And I think also a lot of other reality people when you just don't really know what's behind the surface of who they are. As Erica Jane said it in this week's episode, you don't really know anyone and you never know who it is. Like it's like, well, that's a little dark. It's a little harsh to say that you can't know anyone ever, but on some level, it's a little true. It's a little true. You don't really know the full story. Um, but I did get my start in I went to acting school in New York City, went to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, which I loved.
That's a hard school
And
to get into too.
it's very competitive and they only take a certain amount of people. And I love the whole process of auditioning and getting in. And it's like, coming from the Midwest, Michigan and having that experience. And I love, I guess I always loved entertainment growing up. I didn't really know that it could be an option for my life necessarily. I was in plays and theater and stuff like that in high school, and I was always doing impressions of teachers. I was always goofing around, and so comedy was always a part of my life. I loved Saturday Night Live. I loved I like my high school prediction was most likely to be on Saturday Night Live. I mean, that's what people predicted for me, which is pretty on point considering what I do. But I definitely was always part of my life. And then I did get my degree in broadcast communication in Detroit at Wayne State University. And I ended up not necessarily pursuing acting straight out of the conservatory. I got a degree and then kind of fell back into it later. Well, I didn't fall back into it. I pursued it, but I decided to just pursue an actual like regular 9 to 5. So I was working in broadcast, I was working in advertising, production, video production, all that stuff, producing. So I learned that end of things, and through that I learned that voiceover exists, like that you can be a professional voiceover artist, which I never knew. And I was like, you can do what for how much? Like you can just talk and do commercials and then get paid and then be a part of the union and all that stuff. So which by the way, when I was looking at it, it looked like it was so easy. Not easy at all. Not easy at all. It's, just even being like 15 years into doing commercial voiceover work and having amazing representation, the the shots on goal that you have to take on a daily basis, the amount of auditions that you have to do, it's crazy. Like it's, you probably get maybe one out of 500 jobs, if that, if you're even lucky. And to get a campaign is even harder. So it's really that's a competitive field all in and of itself, which I learned a lot about, but I love it. It has been my bread and butter for 15 years. And so I love doing voiceover work. That's been kind of a thing for me. But in the meantime, circling back to the radio stuff, when I was in Detroit, like when I was working at advertising is when I decided to pursue the voiceover stuff as well as get into improv and comedy. And so that's when I started studying improv and doing a little bit of stand up, but like I went through Second City Conservatory and then eventually I was on this radio show in Detroit for a little while. And then I was doing voiceovers and all this other stuff. And then I eventually decided to quit my day job, pursue it full time. And that's when I started to do voiceovers. And I moved to Chicago, continue to do more commercial work, things like that, a lot of improv. And then eventually moved to LA where I am here. And then that's when I started to really hone in on the Housewives, and I honed in on Bravo, and I honed in on making my impressions, like doing more and more impressions on Bravo about Bravo. And I got connected with Watch What Happens Live, and they just like were so supportive and encouraging about with what I was doing. And they were like, more. And so I just forged a relationship with them. And just years later, it turned into me doing a radio show on Andy Cohen's Sirius XM channel because I just was like, I want to do a podcast. And I asked him I asked him for his blessing because they really gave me the platform to do my impressions on. So when I came to him, I was like, I want to do this podcast. I just want to make sure I have your blessing because it's going to be about housewives. And, you gave me, my start, and you've really been, very loyal to me. So is this okay? And he's like, yeah, but don't you want to do it on Radio Andy? And at that time it hadn't existed. So I had no idea. And so sure enough, I got to do a show on his channel, and now it's every day and it has grown, and I just absolutely love it. And I still do videos and whatever else.
I was going to say I love it too because we don't have so I'm going to be biased here. The only show I listen to on Sirius XM for all the Chanel in the City audience and everyone is your show. And I'll tell you why. Because I get my daily dose of the pop culture news, but in a humorous way. And I don't know about you, but it's so dark to listen to so much media. We're in the
Mm,
business, or when you're not in the business, you're listening to so much news, entertainment, and you don't know where to
yeah.
go and you don't know who to believe. And you're just a fresh of breath air because there is no malice or darkness there with you. It's all genuine
Oh,
fun.
thanks.
You
Thank
know what I
you.
mean?
Oh, that's so good to hear. That
Yeah.
definitely fans the flame because, I like to try and keep it, I don't want to say light, but I like to keep it the ball in the court of, of humor and have that angle to it because I think there are different obviously different mediums for people who have different angles on stuff, which I appreciate. that's just not like where I land. I don't land with like hard hitting stuff. I also, when try to recap the shows, for the most part, it's with a comedic angle, and I try to keep it pretty cool. But I do appreciate other ways of doing it where you really go in hard, you really dissect. But for me, it's not always like that. So it's just my style, I guess. And I appreciate you saying that you like it because I don't know. I mean, it's like you feel like you're talking into a vacuum, frankly, right?
Right, because and that's the thing is like I'm glad that you're sharing, your vulnerability in a sense where we all think everyone might look at you and they might say, "Oh my God, Amy's so confident. How did she have this confidence? How did she get her start?" It's not overnight. Like you said, you've been working, you've been hustling, you've been putting hours, you've been it's a grueling process. It's not
Yeah.
easy to become where you are full time. That's why I'm
Mhm.
so happy and proud of you because you deserve it. And so my question is, how did you keep that confidence? Even like you said, you went through 100 auditions. I mean, that's hard. That's
Mm.
hard to keep going on auditions, working for the audition, and then getting rejected. And
Yeah.
how did you cope with that?
I was just thinking about this the other day. It's so funny. I can't believe how many auditions I did not get. Like, I mean, jobs I did not get because I mean, when I first got to LA and I was able to get, this is not, I'm not include voiceover is a whole other beast. So separating voiceover and on camera. Okay.
Yeah,
So if you separate voiceover and commercial, I'm sorry, separate voiceover and TV or film. So, like, the voiceover stuff is fine with me. It's actually, it doesn't hurt, like, I don't care if I don't get the job for the gas station. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not emotionally invested.
right.
That
It's
um
$3.50 for your gas today, ladies. Right? I get it totally because no one's seeing your face behind.
no
I
one
get it.
sees
Like,
your face, that there's anonymity there, and there's no real full connection with a brand where you're like, I have to be the voice of. Now, Now the desire to be the voice of
right.
is tremendous because you want that the we want those money bags, you wanna get the money. You want the job because it can change your life. I mean, I've had campaigns where I couldn't believe how much money I was making and working hard at it because you're doing so many commercials, but then once they're airing, you're just getting residual checks. Now, I'm not there at this point right now. I have been there at times, but it's not a consistent thing. So it's like you work so hard to get those jobs, you know what I mean? So when it does pay, it's like a real estate agent, you're showing houses and you're doing all this stuff, and then when you finally sell that like million dollar house or several $1 million house, you get such a great payoff from it, from all the other work you've done with showing other houses and stuff like that. So, um, but with like TV, film, anything like that, that's where it hurts because as an actor, this can change your life. If you just get this one role, this can change the trajectory of your career. This can open up so many doors. Like if you just get that one part, so the pressure of that's always hard for any, startup actor who's in Hollywood who's trying to break in. They're nameless, they're faceless, they're not a celebrity daughter, son, any kind of ancestor of anyone. And so it's very difficult you know, to to brush off those auditions when you're like, dang it. And also if you feel like you did a good job, or you feel like, you know what, I really feel like I could do this and do it well, and you can. And it's not the case always, obviously. Um, but there are some parts where you're like, I totally could have gotten this and I could do it better, and then other times it's like, yeah, this is not for me. And this is the hardest part too, was like you'd get roles, get the auditions, and you're like, this is so not me. I'm not right for this. And now I have to spend the next like 2 days preparing, getting nervous, figuring out, memorizing my lines, rehearsing, and putting all this energy into something that I know like isn't even right for me at the end of the day. And yeah, some people say that about auditions and like, and then I got it, but still at the end of the day, you're like, it's so much, you put so much effort into doing this over and over again. And then it's just hard no's everywhere. So that's just a journey in and of itself that I think all the actors in Hollywood experience. It's normal, it's average. That's what happens. But it's really really tough. The confidence, you were asking about the confidence. I don't know. I guess it becomes like a muscle. It just becomes a muscle. It's like it's like you're an athlete. You kind of train yourself to, fake it until you make it, or you're a performer. So like if you're trained in that aspect of being an actor, and this is why I love when actors are fully trained. You go to a conservatory, it's just acting, So it kind of becomes about you're just faking it. I remember my acting teacher said to me at one point, she's like, it's something about like, I was like, well, I wasn't feeling it. And she was like, I don't care if you're feeling it. I don't care. Doesn't matter if you're feeling it. Show it to me. And I was like, oh, right. Cause that's acting. Like it was like a light bulb. I'm like, oh my God, right. I don't have to feel anything. I have to just pretend like I'm feeling it. That's the whole point. Now, there's obviously techniques out there that I learned as well that they taught at that school too, is that you're dredging up your own sensory things, and you're dredging up techniques, your memories, sense memory, things like that. And you can pull from your own experiences and make it very real, but it still doesn't have to be that. So for me, it wasn't necessarily about how do I get the confidence to go back in the room. It was like I just am faking it anyway, no matter what way you slice it. But did it take a toll on your self-esteem? On my self-esteem? Absolutely. I've had dream crushing situations where I was like, I don't know how I can come back from this. Saturday Night Live, I auditioned twice. Twice. I didn't
Wait,
get the
I'm
job.
sorry to interrupt, but how are you not? I need Lauren Michaels. He's probably, I mean, everybody freaking pushed this interview because how are you not on Saturday Night Live? You are
Well, I'm not, and I
perfect for it.
tried.
You're
I
perfect
tried.
for it. Yeah,
I
sorry. I mean,
I
but
know
this is a
there
good
are a lot.
example. You will
Yeah.
be, Amy, you will be. Guarantee, mark my words, I am going to see you on Saturday Night Live full time, and I'm going to see you hosting it. Watch, it's going to happen in a few months. Not knock on wood, it's happening. I just have a feeling. I have a feeling we're going to see you on it. You're made for it. But
Well,
sorry, go
I
on.
that's very sweet, and I love you for saying that.
Yeah.
Um, I think there are a lot of people that are perfect for Saturday Night Live. I have best friends who are geniuses of comedic like levels that I am in awe of every day. And I see people that I've come up with in improv and stuff like that who are just eh, unbelievably brilliant in terms of comedy. So I know a ton of people who would be perfect for Saturday Night Live. Do they get the job? No. I know so many people who don't get that job. And that's it is what it is. I didn't get the opportunity. I didn't get it. And I felt like, oh my God, how am I going to bounce back from this? This is literally my dream job. How do I move on from this? Well, I have no choice but to move on. So was it sad? Yes. Super duper sad. I had a really hard time bouncing out of that. Um, but at the end of the day, I look back and I think to myself, obviously, it wasn't right for me. I mean, if I don't know if I would have thrived in that situation. I'm not sure. That job seems extremely difficult. I don't know. I'm a very sensitive person. I don't know if it actually would have ended up being good for me. Maybe I would have been on for like one season and then I would have been like fired. And then maybe that would have been worse than not getting the job. You know what I mean? So I don't really know. Um, there's so many different ways to slice it. And I thought about every possible way, of course, because that's all you do when you
Right.
you lose an opportunity. You just have to talk it through until you're blue in the face, and then you just kind of move on and you get over it. And that's exactly what I did. Um, and I have no regrets. I actually feel very now I feel very honored that I was among a very small amount of people who actually got the opportunity to audition,
Right.
when in fact I never thought that that could even be a reality in my life, and it happened so late in my life. So many people who get that job are so young. I was like 35 when I auditioned.
Oh wow,
So,
I thought you were like 26. I mean, you look 35 is the new 20. I'm 36, but you look really young.
oh,
You
I'm
look
in my
really young,
40s.
Amy.
Thank you. I'm in my
Good.
40s, but
It's a
thank you.
compliment. But
I
yeah,
know it
I'm,
is a compliment. Thank
I'm
you.
happy that you're saying that because it's true. Like the audition itself is a blessing. Sometimes we don't even
Yeah.
recognize that.
I know, and it takes a while for you to, and I think with age, your outlook changes. Like my outlook is so different than it was 10 years ago, 5 years ago. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like you just it is true. Like with age, you just realize like I am so lucky. I am so blessed. I am so fortunate. I'm so grateful, however you want to say it, for the opportunities that have come my way. It is so hard to make it in this industry, especially if you don't have those connections. And when I say about connections, like I don't you don't realize how inbred like Hollywood really is and how like you people end up getting jobs because they're friends of or related to. And a lot of the times that happens, you know, it can only go so far. Those people who end up getting those jobs because they know somebody, it's only going to go so far because if they don't have the talent, they're not going to stick around anyway. They're going to see right through it. So
Right.
it's like the people who end up getting those jobs but have talent end up soaring to the top because they're in the fast lane. They're in the they got the fast pass, you know?
Yeah.
I did not have the fast pass. I was also coming in kind of late in my career in terms of like pursuing on camera, pursuing this level of being in the entertainment field. Like, you know, sometimes I think like, gosh, I wish I, you know, I wish I would have known earlier. Like, I wish I could have gotten started earlier. I would have had a lot more time under my belt and um, been able to hustle faster, quicker, longer because it's sometimes it's just it's a clock. You got to wait. You have to just keep at it. And a lot of the times, you know, I feel like I've started over and over again. And I think that's something that we should be comfortable with. It's like just when you think it's, you know, it's just not, it can't be about your ego. Just when you think that you've gotten to a certain level, it's like, no, no, no. You know, something will knock you down, or you have to like realize it's not enough. You have to continue to reinvent yourself. You have to start over. You have to work harder. And I'm willing to do that. Like I
Right.
will always be willing to do that until I'm, you know, give me 10 more years. I'll probably be very tired. But right now,
Right, because it takes a lot out of you. I understand when
yeah.
you say, "I wish I started younger." Like I mean, I started in the business younger, but I wish I also started younger, pursuing in front of the camera, because I was a
Yeah.
producer first. Like I worked my way up from
Oh.
production assistant to producer. Like
Oh,
which we'll get into, hopefully, God willing, on your show because this is more about you. But my I can relate to that situation where you're saying like it takes a lot of energy, and sometimes you really wish. But I like how you're saying you don't
yeah.
regret because you have to move on. Like you have to
Yes.
move on when you lose something in this business because it is so draining. It is so tough. It is so competitive. I mean,
Yeah.
how did you deal with, because you seem like a sensitive person like me. I mean, was the
Yeah.
competition tough for you to deal with when other people, like, did other people try to take you down, or did, how did you deal with if somebody told you, oh, did anyone ever say, Amy, you're starting too late in your game? I'm just, from experience, a lot of people have said that to me or to the audience, and that prevents them from wanting to move on. Has that ever
Mm.
happened to you?
I don't think if anyone said that, they haven't said it to my face. Thank
Right.
God.
Thank God.
You know, I've had a representation. They've never said anything to me like that. Thank goodness. I also think it's a little different in comedy. Um, You know, I think that the stakes they're different. I think there's a little bit more of a leeway when it comes to comedic actresses. You don't have to be perfect, you know,
Right.
looking. You don't have to be perfect age. You can be a character actor and you can come in at any angle. And so that's what I love about comedy. I feel like it's more inclusive. Um so I just I no, I didn't get those hard knocks. I wasn't told like those horror stories that you hear. It's like, oh, you need to lose 15 pounds or, you know, you're coming to Hollywood too late. No, I was never told that. I also feel like, you know, for me, it was probably a little different. I was doing my own thing. I was doing YouTube videos. I was doing my own endeavors. I was doing my own projects. So I was in control of them. So I don't know if that had something to do with it. I'm not sure. Um, but yeah.
I love that. Let's go back to the radio show for a minute. So when you were,
Yeah.
and your impressions of the Housewives, was that ever a concern to you? Oh my God, I'm impersonating and making fun of the Housewives. Andy Cohen's, started the show. He started the franchise. Did that ever come into play? Because sometimes in comedy, I think what makes a good comedian when you take risks and you don't care about that stuff. But
Hmm.
I want to hear from your experience and your expertise. Like, how did you develop? Not how did you develop these characters, but you also developed other characters more than Housewives on your YouTube channels. I followed you for a very long time. You would create different characters that inspired you, right, from your daily life, or
Yeah.
someone we can relate to that we knew, like in the supermarket, or
Yes.
so talk us through that, and how did you get to that place with Andy Cohen where now you're all laughing together?
Good question. Well, I think some of the characters that I was doing that, video characters that I was doing early on was just so fun. I loved putting together different character reels. Um, and that was just certainly taken off of like my life experiences and also stage experiences, just improvising and then taking from characters I would do on stage. And I think like when it comes to the housewives, I seeing the absurdity, but the overly charismatic and over the top characters time and time again, I was like, God, I can't, I used to do impressions of like, Joan Rivers and Jennifer Lawrence and whoever would come my way that I would feel inspired to do. But now I'm like, these ladies are just taking the cake. Like I can't think of a better place to go looking for, fodder for my material. And your question about like how did you get to a place where you're all laughing is pretty important, I think, because I think one of the reasons why Ramona Singer was so receptive to my impression of her, which she was the first housewife I did, was because I wasn't necessarily making I wasn't being mean, I don't think. I hope. I try not to be mean. I try not to be mean. That's never my angle. I'm never like, I'm gonna, skewer you, I'm gonna roast you with my impression of you and make fun of you. It's not that, but at the same time, even if I'm not meaning to do that, it can still come off, you know, like it can take these women by surprise and it can rub them a wrong way. I'm sure no one necessarily wants to see an impression of them. Um, so I suppose Ramona really kind of set the table because she was so receptive to my impression and like loved it. I think because she loves it to be, center stage. And I think
Right.
that she was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe someone's making an impression of me. This is amazing. And so was very like into
It's so good. You do the
celebrating
best
it.
impression.
She's the best. I mean, she really is my favorite and was like, you should come on and watch what happens live. We should do it together, okay? And so that was like really her idea. And I recently connected her with her on my show. I had a 50 closest friends a special event on my show and she was a guest and I was like, cuz Ramona always says 50 of my closest girlfriends. So she was one of my 50 of my closest friends for my event and we were going through it together. And I was like, Ramona, and I was showing her all the wigs, all my Ramona wigs from the past. And she's coming at me. She's like, why aren't you wearing Ramona blue? She's like, why are you recording in your bedroom? Like she is just snapping at me, just giving me that Ramona like sass. And I'm just like eating it up. But she was like, you know what? I gave you your start. I gave you your start, you know? And it's true. She really does. Women supporting women. She puts her money where her mouth is because she did really help to celebrate the fact that I was, make doing an impression of her and she embraced that and she loves that. Um so I think that we all are laughing together because I think one of the leg ups that I have, one of the leg up, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
Um leg up. Um
Legs up. Yeah. I mean,
legs
you're
up.
asking this
Mention
one
it
from
all.
somebody. You definitely have a better vocabulary, than I do, sister. But yes,
I don't
it's
know.
a leg up. I think.
I don't know about that. If I have the audacity. But being showcased on Watch What Happens Live is a huge, it's a real gimme, because these housewives are on that show and Andy Cohen is the host of that show. He's the president of the housewives. So for him to sign off on my impressions and to put them on his show basically gives them the like okay to laugh at it. I think that helps. I really do. Maybe in this day and age now with TikTok and Instagram and stuff like that, maybe they would embrace it a little more, but I think that definitely helped that they were airing on his show. So certainly that gave it a little bit of a level, playing field. And Watch What Happens Live producers, they have the final say in the final cut. So I can give them all I want in terms of material, but they're going to put out there what they think is right, appropriate, funny, and they'll take out what they don't like,
Right.
So, which they've done before. And I'm like, yeah, that was probably a good choice.
Which housewife do you feel like? So we talked about Ramona being one of your favorites. Any other housewife or franchises that you're really into, that you love watching, that you just love impersonating? Like, which other housewives inspire you?
Well, I love doing Teresa. Teresa from Jersey is yeah, I love, you know what I'm saying? I don't sign any papers, all right, Chanel. Okay, listen, Channel. I love being on your shows. And it looks like from in the back, that picture you got, it looks like Italy. Well, me and Joe's went to Italy. Is that a picture of Italy back there? Yeah.
I think so. I think so. That's
uh,
amazing. Yeah,
I
she's
love
great.
Teresa. She's great. Because and the other thing about her is it's so awesome is that I've met her like several times. She's been on my show. And I think she still has no idea A, who I am, and B, that I do an impression of her, which I like. I like, and it's good because I would say if I ever go for somebody and I'm a little bit crossing the line, it's probably with Teresa because I just have a lot of fun with her. And I don't know if she'd appreciate it, at the end of the day. I'm not sure. So I do like that she's very hands off with like knowing what I do. I love
Mhm.
that aspect. It gives me a lot of freedom.
Right.
And then so I love to celebrate her. I love Margaret Josephs is a new favorite that I
Love.
love. And I
Oh,
love her personally, right?
yes, she's amazing. Do you do? Can we hear a Margaret impression?
Well, of course. It took me a long time to figure it out, but you start up here and you end up down here, and you gotta put your mouth out like this. It's very complicated. It's like a scientific experiment. Like, it really took me a long time to do her because I was like, how do you do this?
Speaking of right, so speaking of how to get into the impressions,
Yeah.
how do you prepare? I mean, it might be a stupid question, but how do you prepare for these?
No, it's
Is
it's
there
a
a rhythm
lot
to it? Yeah, right.
because I didn't know how far I was going to continue to go with these. I just keep going. And now I'm to the point where I'm like, well, I can't stop, won't stop. I mean, I realize that
You need a merch. Can we? You need a merch line. A merch line. Can't stop, won't stop. Sorry,
I know.
bitches. I love
I
that. Yeah,
know. I know. I do.
you need the merch line. We need an Amy Phillips merch line because I'll buy it all. It's gonna be Chanel Omari being like sold out. Every shirt. Sorry. Sorry. Go on.
And I'll buy your merch. We'll just wear each other's merch all day long. Just merch it out. I well, what was the oh yeah, how do I get in there? It's with Margaret, that is a labor of love because some of them come to me very quickly. Like Ramona was there. I didn't have to do it. I was like, oh my God, Pinot Grigio. It was like it was there. I didn't do anything. It just and then like Kathy Hilton is lately on and she's like she's hilarious. She's like, Doogie, I can't turn my fan on, Doogie. Doogie, oh my God, Erica, your pants are on wrong. Like, I mean, I haven't perfected it yet, but I feel like I'm
It's good.
close enough where I'm like, it's fine
It's
for right now. You
amazing.
know what I mean? I'll get there. But like with Margaret, I was like, I am nowhere in the range. I don't even know where to begin. And also I'm coming from a place of Danielle Staub. I'm coming from a Danielle Staub place, and I'm coming from a Teresa place. And I'm coming from like I've got all these like a New York place. So I'm coming from all these really East Coast accent nuanced characters that I've already established in my head. So now when I'm trying to do another East Coast accent as well as in that range, it's bordering on. I'm like, oh my God, I'm sounding like Ramona when I try to attempt this. Oh no, I'm sounding a little bit too much like Danielle. It's starting to blend and I'm like, oh, this is bad because I can't separate them. So it took a really long time. I just basically use voice memos on my phone. I watch them. I record clips of them off of the TV that like their interviews or a scene that I feel like they're really at their top. Like, so then so then I just listen to it and I try to find some pieces, some words and some phrases that they maybe say over and over again. Or I just find one phrase that is funny to me and then I extrapolate from that and then I hone in on that and I exaggerate the hell out of it. So it's a lot of watching clips and sometimes it can take a long time. Margaret, it took a couple weeks. I just had to like check in and I'm like, I'm not getting it. I'll try another day. I'm not nowhere close. And I'll record my voice. So at the beginning stages, it just sounds nothing like it at all. And it's terrifying. I'm like, I'll never get there. I'll never get there. I don't think I can do this. And then and then if I can't, I just abandon it or I just keep going until I get it.
That's really, no, that's amazing. And I do think, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, your acting education and just improv, do you feel like it helped? Like, do you think anybody can
Yeah.
do impersonations if they really work? It's a lot of work. I mean, or do you think the training helps you also perfect it? Because,
I think
there's,
the training, well, the training for acting, I will say improv definitely helps because having a comedic and writing, and I've written a lot. I do a lot of comedy writing, and I write a lot of stuff for my show. I write sketches, I write promos, I do stuff like that all the time. So that is a huge muscle that writing is the key to anything comedy, whether it's impressions or like if you're writing on a TV show or if you're an actor. Like it's very important, and I feel like it only strengthens your comedic muscle and your ability to act because you're going to look at things differently. So it helps me to the improv comedy helps me for sure think about like, oh, well, what is funny about this impression? I mean, if I'm just mimicking this person, but I'm not saying anything funny, it's not, there's nothing elevated about it. You kind of have to do something more with it, than what you can't just mirror it or else it's just like boring. So you have to take it to another level. And that's what I try to do. I don't know if I ever always get there, but I attempt to do that. That's my goal.
sorry, I love it. I put myself on mute in case there's any noise in the background because I want it to be perfection.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but that is no, but that's really good tips. I think it's good to like learn from you and get experience because it's not that easy, and just even you have a hard time sometimes like getting it perfected, which I like the audience to
Yeah,
understand. Some of our audience there, we're all hard on ourselves, right?
for
We're all like,
sure.
if I can't get it on the first time or the second time, or even with my stand-up comedy, there's a lot of times I'm doing it in front of men,
Mhm.
God bless straight men, who really can't stand me. But it's just great. I'm like in their face. I don't know what that is yet. I'm still trying to tap in therapy. Why me and straight men just
That is so
we can't get along.
interesting. Really?
It's interesting. Like women will always laugh at my jokes. Men will sit there cold stone, like sizing me up. And you'll see like a beautiful girl come in the room and she'll say something not that funny or funny, but because she's
Right.
beautiful, they'll laugh
Oh, of course. Well,
like
that
a
has
crazy
nothing to do
hyena.
with comedy at all. That has to do with their penis. Their penis. Their
Right.
penis. Um, I actually don't think there's
So
anything wrong
yeah,
with that either. Your audience doesn't have to be everyone, and that's quite all right. I love the fact that you know who your audience is, and you should just focus on that and screw everything else. Because
yeah, gay men and women,
yeah,
gay men, women, and
well,
minorities.
that's
That's
the
my
best
audience because
audience you could possibly have.
yeah, of
So, I
course,
mean, there you go. What else do you need? Straight
right.
men, who cares?
Straight
And I
men,
would, I
we love you, but
they don't. I would say the same for me. I mean, I don't.
I mean, yeah. How do you feel like with your audience? Who
Probably
gravitates?
the
Who do
same,
you
probably
notice?
the same.
Same.
And I love that. And I love the audience. We love our audience because they're
Yeah.
us. That's how I feel about my audience is me. Like I would be sitting right there watching someone like me or someone similarly talking about the things that I'm talking about and doing it in the best way that they can because this is what I want to talk about. This is what I want to laugh about. So that's why I connect with my audience. And that's why I love having callers on my show because they can call in and I get reality checked sometimes, which is great.
Really?
I mean, yeah, sometimes it's great. That's what they'll be like, no, it's this. And we can agree to disagree, which I love. You know, uh, or they're just supporting and that we're coming from the same angle. But what makes it interesting is if people have all different types of points of view and we can, flush that out. But with stand up comedy, I was going to say the same thing. Like when you're writing a joke, it's the same
Yeah.
thing with an impression. And if you're working on your set or you're working on all new material, it's not going to land right away. You have to hone it and it's going to take weeks and it's going to take several different times you're up on stage to get that joke right. Same thing with an impression. It's the exact same process. It's like you just keep trying, you edit, you keep trying, you try different things until it actually lands. So it's all a comedic process in and of itself, which I thrive on. I love the process of it. It's hard. It sucks. I mean, I say I love the process, but I don't. I lied. I don't think I love the process. I mean,
You love how it turns out, like the result of right?
I
The
love
result
I
of
love
it.
the result of the process. The hard part is starting. Anything you start
Yes.
anything, anyone can agree. If you're starting a project, it's horrible because you're like, why did I do this? I'm never going to get this. I can't do this. I'm not good at this. Who am I kidding? And then once you're a quarter of the way in, you're like, okay, maybe. But then halfway in, and you're like, I might be onto something. That's the part where I'm like, okay, I love this because I did the hard work, and now I'm gonna go down the mountain. Now it's like downhill, and I can, I'm sure you feel the same way about stand up when you're like getting close to a joke landing, and you're like, oh, this bit totally works now, right?
Yeah, or like sometimes you're right. Also, it's the audience; they will laugh at it, but it's a silent laughter. And we're performers, and you want to make sure you're entertaining. Amy, you would die of laughter if you saw me with all these straight men. They're like at the stand, and I'm like, and I look like the Jewish Yenta, and they're like, so. And then one of them smirked, like, I'm like, come on, give me something.
I
I'm a
know. Why?
failed reality star. Can you give me something on fucking stage? But you're right. Like I guess I look up to you so much because I'm like, I know how hard it is. I know you put yourself out there. And then I love the fact that you don't, it seems like you don't care what people think. I mean, I think it might be repetitive, but how do you not care and say, you know what, I'm not embarrassed if a guy that I like is gonna see this, or if my mom, or if I don't know how, if your
Mhm.
parents were strict. I know my parents were very
Mine
about,
are. Yes.
they are, because my parents
I
are very
remember
like
that about you from your
image,
show.
yeah, image, the community. And I'm a mess, and I'm very open about it, and I think
Mhm.
that's something that not everyone's so comfortable with. I think the show helped me get to being comfortable with being a messy person and not always
Mhm.
having it together. And so that was hard for them to accept that I want to be in this business, right? Like, no
Yeah.
family, I'm not married, no kids yet, and this is like my baby. But every time I get on stage, I kind of psych myself up because I'm like, what if I can't do this? What if I can't? So do you ever have those moments where you're like,
Yeah.
I'm embarrassed if I put, not embarrassed, just like, what
Mhm.
if somebody doesn't love all the hard work I put into it? Like, or
Totally. Oh,
any tips you can
yes.
share with us to cope with that?
Oh, that is so I mean, you are hitting it on all cylinders. I
Sorry for
think
the three questions in one.
no, but it is it but it is multifaceted because that is in fact the truth. And I think that that's part of being a performer or an entertainer is that unfortunately that's the nature of the beast. Your struggle with confidence and self-esteem um is part of why you might be a good performer, unfortunately. But also also have to have that overwhelming confidence at times in order to get you to that point to take that risk to put it out there. So I think it's a bizarre and delicate balance. I don't know if you were to ask any performer, I want to say, let me just like, I don't know about actors. So I'm just going to leave actors out of it, but stand-ups, improvisers, if they like for real feel 100% confident and self and have like full on top-notch self-esteem. I highly doubt it.
They're like,
Um,
right. They're like
you
trying to
know,
fake, not fake it, but more like they're putting on a different facade. Like inside, we don't know what, right, everyone's going through.
yes. Oh, here's my cat. Oh, hi,
Oh,
baby. Say
that
hi to
cat looks so
Chanel.
pretty. What's her name?
It's Swoopy.
Hi, Schloopy.
Oh, you're so sweet.
So
Oh, baby.
sweet.
She's a little rescue cat. We got her a couple months ago. She's
Oh,
new.
that's so nice that you did. I love her. I do rescue too, with dogs and
Oh,
cats,
you
with
do? Oh my
Rescue
gosh.
Dogs NYC. I don't know if you heard
Oh,
of them.
nice. Oh,
They're
that's
like,
awesome.
some of the housewives actually do. It's funny because I wanted to actually ask you to do an event. We're doing a charity event. Maybe it's in LA, so maybe we can have
Oh,
you
really?
appear. Yeah, we'll talk
Oh,
about that.
cool. Okay,
I
yeah,
don't
let's
know.
talk about it for sure. That's awesome. You're doing an event for the rescue in LA?
For the
Oh, very
rescue
cool.
dogs and cats, because they need to like put them up with families if they don't have like a place, or if they're not feeling, they
Yeah.
fostering or
Yes,
rescuing them.
fostering. Oh, that's so cool.
I love that you have a cat.
I
And
know
you
she's
also,
so
you're
cute.
married, right? You're
Yep, I'm married. I've been married since 2013 and I have a daughter who will be 4 in a week.
Congratulations. But that's another thing. I mean, how do you balance it all? Full-time wife, full-time mom, full-time career woman. I mean, do you believe we could balance it all?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I honestly don't know how other people are doing it. I don't it's really hard, but I don't know how other people do it with more than one child. I am completely overwhelmed. And but totally, I mean, totally happy, but it's a lot, it is a lot. Um because I want to be a really good mom, And the other thing is that I mean, I also am not rich, so I don't have like
Nannies.
nannies. So
So
I think we all know what the secret is there. Like
yeah,
I would not be as overwhelmed if I had a nanny and like a housekeeper, that would
yeah,
come at least once a week. And I strive that that will be the case at some point. But I do have how like I actually have a babysitter here today, right now. Amazing. And now my daughter is back in school just 2 days a week, and my husband is such a great like father, and he's completely present, so we really balance it. We are a great team, so we are able to balance it out. But like, because I'm such a like I feel like I'm very I want to be there every step of the way with my daughter, you know what I mean? So it's hard to be hands off at times.
of course, especially with the business because like, you have a full time radio show, and then we got to talk about your cookbook, which is
Oh
so
yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
because like that's a lot. I have a hard time already doing it being single. So when my mom's like, "When are you pushing out babies?" I'm like, "Please relax, because when I'm
I
pushing
know.
out babies, I'll probably never have this career, or I'll have to find a way to balance it." That's why I wanted to ask from your experience, like,
Well,
what are
I think you're
tips?
smart too. I mean, I waited a long time to have a child, and it almost did not happen. Like I had a lot of fails. Um, you know, I know but that's how it is. I think so
Right.
many women can relate with that because we are putting our careers first, which, in many ways we should, because that's like what's driving you. And so it sucks that like there's a timeline for women. And so it's a horrible, and the stigma of that is like, you don't have to not we don't all have to have kids. Like, we don't all have to get married. It doesn't have to be this one path. And I think that we're to the point where that is so much more acceptable. You don't have to have that stigma in the back of your head, like, oh, you have to do this, this, and this. It's like, no, it doesn't work that way anymore. It's just not that's not the way that women are telling their stories anymore. And I think there's a lot of freedom in that. Um, and why and if I wasn't able to have kids eventually, I would have been fine. You know,
Right.
I love working. I love what I do. I get so much joy out of it, and I think it's really super fulfilling. Um so and and I think that it's so interesting because like now women these days are waiting longer to have kids, and that's it's not how it used to be. Or you have kids really young and then you start your career later on. Like it's a flip or flop.
Yeah. I love no, I just love that you're inspiring us to always go for our dreams no matter what, no matter.
Absolutely.
And I
And
love that your
yeah.
husband's supportive. I mean,
So
so
yeah.
we'll talk about dating a little bit, and we'll wrap
Mhm.
up soon just because I know you have to go. But
No
um,
worries. No worries.
dating, do you feel like we should, as single women, definitely find a guy who's going to support us in what we do? Because I know I've dated a lot of men that weren't supportive of my career, and I feel like
Really.
that kind of affect. I mean, I'm going to take accountability. I don't like to blame people, but it did affect my creativity process. It did affect me
Oh,
from, you know.
then I'm really proud of you that you walked away from that and that you're
Yeah.
not in that. You can't do that because then you're not being true to yourself, and you'll be so sad for the rest of your life.
So yeah, I was gonna say, what are your tips? I guess for yeah,
That
but you're like, don't do that,
I'll
ladies.
I'll give you my tip right here. Ready? Get divorced, because that's what I did. Because I was married before,
Oh
and
really?
he was not supportive of me and not supportive of who I am as a person, and I left. And there is a lot more to that story because I didn't want to leave, but he sabotaged quite a bit. So, but boy, I am so glad. I am so glad because that's why I was able to pursue and be who I wanted to actually be. So it's never too late. And it's and never sell yourself out, because who you have to live with yourself. Like, wouldn't you want to just live with yourself and be happy than be with somebody else who doesn't want you to be happy? That just makes no sense to me.
I love.
So
I mean, I don't love that. I mean, I'm so sorry that you had to go through that, but I love that you were
I'm not.
strong enough
Yeah.
to walk
Yes,
away and find somebody
absolutely.
amazing now
And
who
I wasn't
supports.
strong. And I
You weren't.
wasn't strong at the time. I felt extremely weak and vulnerable, and that's when you know that something's wrong. And by the grace of God, I had an like a a hint of strength to get out of the situation. And thank goodness I did. So, to anyone who is struggling, just, yeah, to thine own self be true. It will pay off in the end. Peace, you got to have peace in this world, if not it, because there's no peace in this world. But if you can find peace within yourself, I think that's, I don't know. I'm just talking shit now. Who
Well,
knows?
talking about peace, let's
Yeah.
talk about a peace and its peace. It's a metaphor and it's a literal term for your cookbook. Talk to us about your amazing book and why you named it. I'm
Cook
going to
it,
let you
spill
talk
it,
about the
throw
book.
it.
Yeah. I'm going to talk about it. It is called Cook. It's a hit book. Cook it, spill it, throw it. The Not So Real Housewives parody cookbook. I love that.
I know
I
it's a
love that it's a
mouthful.
parody too. So talk to
Yeah.
us about what inspired you behind this book. Why a cookbook? Why obviously
I
related to
know. It's so
Housewives?
bizarre. It was not my idea. In fact, Chef Stuart O'Keefe came to me, him and his literary agent, and they were like, he's like, I have this idea that no one's done this, and no one's done this. There's no cookbook out there for Real Housewives. And I was like, yeah. So, and and then it really took a second for me to realize, like, oh, wait, this is actually a really good idea. Like, no, this does not exist. And it wouldn't it be fun because all of the housewives, like if you think about it, every single scene takes place that where something happens takes place at the dinner table, takes place at brunch, takes place at lunch, takes place at drinks. That's when they get all together. And there are so many moments surrounded by food or the lack of eating food, by the way. Um,
Very true.
and very true, too sad. So basically it's this book that we just take housewives moments and actual housewives and we name them. We turn them into food. So, like the Ding Dong Dungeon cake from named after the dungeon, party for that Candy did, the bachelorette
Oh
party for
yes,
Cynthia,
that is so
Bolo's
clever.
Ding Dong. So there's for Margaret, there's your husband's in the pool and we've got a ton of
Sorry,
just,
I laugh like the joke. You know what I should
I
say?
love
I
it.
laugh. You know how the Joker has that card, like he has a condition of that laughter. I swear, Amy, I have that laughter now. So forgive, but go.
I love it. I love a good laugh.
Good
I love a
laugh.
good laugh.
Hopefully, you
So
can do an
yeah, we just
impression
did it
of
and
me.
it's so fun.
Hopefully, one of these days you can do an impression of my Long Island accent. I don't know.
I should. I know. Oh my
Maybe when
God,
I'm
that
on the
would be
radio
fun.
show. I hope
That
I
would
would.
be
It
so
would be
fun.
such an honor to come on your show, but we'll talk about that in
Oh,
another
yeah,
time.
you are for sure. Yeah. What are you watching these days on Bravo?
Oh, so I love Beverly Hills. I wanted to get your
Okay.
opinion on the new Beverly Hills. What you think about Erica
Okay.
Jane and the whole situation? New York, I'm into.
Yeah.
I love Ebony. I think she's a great addition,
Me
and
too.
I like. I would say Vanderpump Rules is returning, so I love that show. Like that was one of
Hmm.
my favorite shows,
Oh
and I
yeah.
want to know what your thoughts are about it returning. Do you do impersonations from the Vanderpump with the Vanderpump
Yeah,
cast?
I used to like a lot when I first got started. I was doing like Chris and Doty and Stassi. I think I
Oh,
did
you can.
Sheena.
Can you do a Stassi?
I'm trying to remember.
Or
Um, she's like, um, I am not coming back to Vanderpump Rules anytime soon. I don't know. I just remember her being
that's a good one.
extremely angry.
That's a great one. Yeah, so those are the main ones I'm watching. What about you? Do you any preference of like Bravo shows?
Oh God. I mean, obviously I watch them all
Yeah.
and I'm really excited about Beverly Hills this year. I think that it's going to be a really interesting ride. Family Karma has been a really fun one that I've been tuning into, which I really like that one.
Me too, lately. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about Summer House? Have you
Oh
gotten
yeah,
into?
I love Summer House. I'm excited for Winter House or whatever the name of it is. That'll
Yeah.
be interesting. I love Southern Charm. They're having some growing pains, but I love Leva. I love Leva on the show. She's been
Yes.
great. And yeah, I'm just like a fan. I'm just a fan of like all the shows. I
Almost
love
shows.
Below Deck. Below Deck's
Oh,
so great.
it's
So
so
bummed.
soothing. I always
Yeah.
have it on. Yeah, Below Deck is so. You know what it is? It's like you can. It's great. It just has everything. It has good drama, but it's not
Yeah.
too dark, so you can leave it in the background
Right.
of your, TV. Sometimes I feel like it's just when I'm nervous, I put it on and I'm calm. One of
Yeah.
those,
Yeah.
soothing TV. So that's good. What do you think of Beverly Hills this season? Do you think Erica's going to get into the whole
Andy keeps
situation?
promising that she's gonna talk, and I hope she does. It's weird that she's just like nowhere to be found as far as like press, which I get. I would be hiding out if I were her too. And what did she know? What didn't she know? That's the question. Who
Right.
knows? It's pretty disturbing, these allegations, and terrifying. So, yowzers.
We pray for her. Yes, I love
Yes.
Erica. I just hope she comes out of it. I just hope she comes out of it on the other end. I mean, my opinion doesn't really matter. I don't personally think she knew much because I felt like their relationship was very, to me, a woman like Erica and him. I felt like if he kept a lot from her, I don't believe she knew a lot. If that makes sense, I
Yeah,
think
of
that
course
she,
it does.
you know
Yeah,
what I'm saying, like.
absolutely.
So, but I really wish them well, and it does. I mean, with these reality shows, I think the worst part is when drama like this happens and it's out of the control, and then they have to talk about it. So that's why I love your radio show, because there's a little bit of, it's not about that all the time. There's some
Yeah.
relief. You do the impressions. You know. So I love that. Any other
Right.
reality shows that we should tune into that you love to watch in general, or any shows you want to recommend to us that you loved talking about?
Oh, let's see. I was watching 90 Day Fiance for a little while there. Happily Ever After I was watching, so
Is that a good?
that was
I
a
got to get
fun
into that.
jaunt. That was a fun jaunt. It's long, so I can't, I don't have the time, unfortunately, to get into all those, but we do talk about Top Chef on our show, which I love. I
Yes.
love Top Chef. I love Project Runway. On other shows, let's see, what am I watching? What am I watching? I just watch, my escape is like Turner Classic Movies.
Yeah.
So like on the weekends, I'll watch Turner Classic Movies, or I'll watch like a murder documentary. It's kind of weird, but
Those, no, I do too. Those are always the best. Talk to us a little bit about your advice on how to make it in this. What is your tips, your advice to everyone trying to make it in the industry? What would you say we should do?
oh, I would say lean into who you are, like hard, embrace what makes you special, and double down on that, because there's no one else like you. No one else has your voice. No one else has your perspective, and believe that, and just like, it's so easy to open your phone, and then you open up TikTok, and you're like, oh my God, this is so overwhelming. Like, and this has 2 million views. And you're like, wait, what am I doing with my life? How is this? These are the things where you just turn it off, and just put the blinders on, put the horse blinders on, and focus on you and what you're doing. That's the best thing you can do. I don't spend a ton of time on social media. I do it to get my news for my show. Um, Obviously I post stuff, I post my videos and things like that, but I'm not doing a ton of like scrolling, because I think it can be very toxic, especially for a creative mind. And I don't listen to other podcasts that talk about Real Housewives, because I don't want to have those influences in my head. I need to like keep my opinions mine, and not be unconsciously affected by someone else's opinion, and then all of a sudden regurgitate what I heard. So I try to keep it pretty high and tight. And then I would just say keep doing, you know, find a niche, get as specific as you possibly can, as specific. As much as you think there's no audience for that, the more specific you are with what you are passionate about, the better chance you are at paving a way for yourself, because there'll be no one else in that lane. So that would be and just hustle, honey, as Lisa Rinna said, hustle,
I
hustle.
I love your Lisa Renna impression. Have you done the dance yet?
Oh, yes, I have done
You've
the
got it,
dance.
that
Yes.
right.
It's
She's too
amazing. She's the
much.
gift that keeps giving.
Yeah, you're better at it, but you are so funny. So, where can we get this cookbook? Because I'm gonna get it, and I'm just gonna cook and eat and read when I
And
have a
spill
bad
it
day.
and throw it and throw it and spill it. And it is available for pre-sale now, and you can get it anywhere books are sold, and it'll be released November 2nd.
Oh my God! Oh, right, 2 weeks before my birthday. I'm so excited. That's amazing. I
Oh,
love
very
that. What a great
cool.
birthday gift to me. And also, talk to us a little bit about which housewife impression have you not done yet that you want to do, or
Hmm.
housewife that you haven't met yet that you want to interview.
Oh, good. That's good. Ooh, okay, let's see here. I have not talked to Crystal, so maybe I'd like to meet Crystal.
Yeah,
And I have not done an impression of, I'd like to continue to hone my Kathy Hilton, because I feel like I did a video of her trying to plug the fan in, and that was very short, like her and Kyle. But I would like to do
I
some
know
more.
that.
See.
That was hilarious. That was so funny. That's what I do. I watch your videos when I get upset or sad. I always tell people like watch someone you find funny or you can relate to because it does. You're right. Social media. There's so much going on, and then
So
like
much. Yeah.
clouds your head and it makes
It
you a little bit
does.
more anxious. So
It
when I watch
does.
your
Oh,
videos, I'm like, oh, they're so lighthearted. There's a message here. It's not for selfish reasons. You get what I'm saying? So it's
yeah.
easier to connect. It's easier to lean in and be like, oh my God, I love Amy Phillips's video. This is hilarious. This is what I needed, you know,
Thank you. I appreciate
for that.
that.
Um, One last thing we always ask our guests for when they're on Chanel in the City, what's your favorite place to go to when you're in New York City or even in LA to like escape or where you got
Ooh.
can eat good food?
Ooh,
Ooh,
love. Oh my God, I just love New York City. Is there a specific place? I guess Central Park is just like is very there's just something really special about Central Park. I try to get there every single time I go to New York, which is like once or twice a year. And then in LA, it's just it's amazing because it's just like there's hiking, there's I love Griffith Park. That is a
oh,
wonderful getaway.
wow.
And in Griffith Park, I've taken my daughter to this amazing, like old-timey carousel. And it is kind of terrifying. Like the organ music is so loud and it's such a vintage organ that it's like it can shake your brain. But there's a bench there that's like Walt Disney sat on this bench and came up with the idea of Disney World or Disneyland on this bench. And it's inside and it's like got a placard on it and stuff like that. And he used to come to Griffith Park and sit here and think of ideas. And so when I've been on that carousel with my daughter, I'm like, it was one of the most special moments I've had in my life and yeah, in general. So I feel like in Griffith Park and when I went to that carousel was a very special place.
I love that. I got to check that out when I'm in LA. That's going to be amazing. Um, do you have like 2 more minutes? I just want to do one
Yes,
sound bite, but like I also had
of
one
course.
question. Sorry, I'm so sorry. I'm just like I want to make sure this is perfect.
Of course. I'm totally yeah, no problem.
Okay, from
No
the
problem.
acting, you're like I'm
I'm
present today.
present. I'm so present with you. I'm in the here and now. Anyway,
I need to have a martini. I'm taking you out for a martini when I come to LA, and we're
yay!
just gonna like do
I can't wait.
yay. So in terms of acting, because you are an actress and you did movies, you were in movies. Are you? What's your goal? And do you have like a dream of like continuing doing film more? Are we gonna, what would you like to share with the audience in terms of like what you would like to do in the next? I hate this. I mean, the question is 5 years,
Yes,
but
the
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 next few
Barbara Walters
years.
question. What is at the end of your rainbow? Where are you 5 years from now? I love the question and I have an answer because I am a real believer in, envisioning what's to come next. And I have a vision board, like straight up cut things out, glued them on. And so I don't know if that was an earthquake or my child like running amok. Okay, sorry. Um, so I think for me, I visualize doing a stage show, touring a stage show, like a stand up and touring that. So that is my next goal. As far as other things are concerned, I would love and for on camera, like I will say radio, I want to continue my show and like make it the greatest that I could possibly make it. And then beyond that, for television, it would probably be like I would love to have my own special or a sketch show that's like an SNL for Bravo type of, thing. I've always
Yes,
wanted that.
that would be
So that would be
amazing.
those would be my goals, my visions, my dreams, and we'll see what happens.
Oh, listen, it's happening, and I'm just so grateful that you're here and you came on the show and you gave us the time. Like you don't understand, this is like a dream come true for
Oh
me.
my gosh,
So
thank
I
you. I
thank you for
love
this.
you.
Also mental health. Coping with mental health because it's a big deal. We talk about
Yes.
the podcast. I know I've been through it.
Yeah.
It's hard. This industry, like you said, it's hard. It could take a toll over your mental
Mhm.
health. Anything you can share with us on what happened to you where you really felt like things affected you and how did you get out of
Mhm.
it mentally? Like how maybe you can share some tips with us in the audience so we could take from this, because a lot of times a lot of people ask me, how do I not get angry when I don't get that job? How do I not yell at someone when they say mean things to me? And a lot of this business, I think, like what you said, is faking it and keeping your cool. And so if you can share that right before we wrap up, that'd be great.
I think it's easier said than done when you try to say, like, you know what, if you didn't get that job, it wasn't meant to be, and all the stuff that you usually say. But most of the time, it's actually true. Um, like, you know, it probably wasn't the best fit. Yeah, you could have done it probably. Maybe you would have done it better, but obviously there's a reason why it didn't happen. And there's this trendy word happening right now, which is called pivot, which is so annoying, but I love to overuse it because it's just obnoxious. But it is. It's kind of like you really have to be like you have to keep pivoting. You got to just keep your head on a swivel. And if the doors are closing, then move and try something different, you know? Um and also don't take it personally. Again, so easy to say, but that is like the business. That is the business of Hollywood and entertainment. And my suggestion would be try to watch as many documentaries or read as many books as you can about other people in the field who can tell you their hard knock stories and can tell you how many more times they've had the door slammed in their face or they've been said no to more times than you have, because that perspective is invaluable. So, uh, I, I can't even, I'll show you on my hands. A stack of pilot scripts, maybe this high for one season, didn't book one. You know what I mean? Went on all of them. Um, I don't know what to say other than it just didn't happen. Um, you know, listen, talk to me. I'll tell you. You're gonna get no's. That's just it. It's just it. So if it's costing your mental health in that sense where it becomes too much, you have to figure out. You have to kind of crunch the numbers. Well, can I handle this? Can my mental health handle this? And if it can't, if you really truly examine it and you feel like it's more detrimental than not, then I would say another um uh, another pursuit would probably do you better, because then that way if you get out of pursuing something that you feel is hurting you and you discover something else that might eventually lead you back into the entertainment field in an organic way that you never expected. So sometimes walking away can be good to you, help you grow in another area. And life experience is obviously key to any form of entertainment because you can't bring anything to the table unless you've lived life. So perhaps you need to go live life, get another job, do whatever you need to do to make it work, take care of yourself, and then revisit it on another level in your life, like at another chapter, if you will.
The chapter, right? And we're waiting for that other book from you about.
Yeah.
We were talking the second book,
The chapter.
the chapter. You should just call it the
The
chapter with
my
Amy
chapter is
Phillips.
my life is one chapter.
I love that. Well, anything else you'd like to share with the audience before, anything else you'd like to plug in? You're doing so much. I'm so amazed. I love it.
Chanel in the city. I like to be with Chanel in the city. Um, just live, love, laugh. I don't know. No, I'm just happy to be here. That's such bullshit. I hope I didn't like talk in memes because memes are,
No,
it's so funny. Love
you're,
hate relationship with memes when they have like those like, you know, insightful
yeah.
little tidbits. Cause sometimes I'm like, oh, and then I'm like, oh my God, that really hits me. Like, I really like that meme. It's
I
true.
love no, you were like a perfect thing. You did memes, you did impersonations, we talked deep, right? We talked a lot. I like to get into like who you are as a person and how you got here because it's amazing. It's so fascinating to me.
Yeah. It's everyone's path is so interesting to me too. I totally agree.
In terms of women though in the industry, what do you think we need to do to change the narrative of
Mm.
men in power looking at us as equals? Because I would
Well,
like your
guess you
opinion
look
on
at the
that.
population and look who's running the world. Girls, so fuck them, fuck the men. Who cares? Like I just think keep hitting in the same spot. Keep hitting where the spot I'm starting to talk like a sex therapist. I don't mean to be pivoting in that direction. But the narrative can organically change, and I think it is.
Yeah.
And if you are doing the work and speaking your truth and people are listening, no matter what sex they are, then I think it's working. And I love that we're living in this time of like the Me Too, and people aren't going to be able to get away with anything as much anymore. And I love that.
Yes.
I
People are
keep
talking
looking for
out.
more canceled people and more canceled with the Me Too movement. I was like, keep them coming, keep it
Yeah.
coming. I want them taken down.
Yeah.
So, let's just hope that continues.
I know, right? We need to just keep on having voices and just being out there and being ourselves, I think.
Yes,
And,
absolutely.
and the
Yeah.
cancel culture, I know, how do you feel about the cancel culture these days lately?
Um, how do I
When
feel about
people
the
are
cancel
canceling
culture? Oh,
others for saying the wrong thing or saying, maybe not doing the right thing, do you have
well,
any thoughts?
I think it's good to have accountability, and I think we're growing as a culture right now. I think it's really these conversations that we're having, especially like on, and I can speak to the Real Housewives, like it's really important time right now. And I think it's great that these hard subjects of race and culture are being explored on these shows that typically have no depth
Yeah.
whatsoever.
Yeah.
But it's a reflection of our society, and I think it's amazing. And we're watching people make mistakes, we're watching people make grave errors, and we're hitting ourselves in the face. But at the end of the day, it's a good thing because we all need to learn what to do or not to do, or what to say and what not to say, or how to say it, and when not to say anything. And I think it's a really good example for us to be watching right now. And we need to give people the space to evolve and change and apologize and take ownership. And listen, that's what it's about. You got to own it and move forward.
I
And
love that.
not an apology. I'm sorry you felt that way. Not a Real Housewives apology, but like real apologies.
I love that. I love that. We can end on that. I love that. Amy Phillips, thank you so much for being here. This is a
Thank
dream come true. You made a
you.
girl from Long Island's dream come true. An
Oh
ex
my God.
princess. Can you see me? I can't see you them.
I know. I put the
Oh.
camera down on
Oh, the
Swoopy so you
cat.
could see
Look at
Swoopy.
your eyes. Look how beautiful you are. Are you not the prettiest? You're the prettiest thing I've seen. Those blue eyes.
I know. She's so cute. It's
She's so
adorable.
beautiful. Is she a Persian cat?
She's Siamese.
Oh, sign. I
Yes.
love those because I'm not a big cat person, but I love those kind of cats.
Yeah. She's
They're so
adorable.
like, they're just loving.
There's,
She's like
yeah,
nurturing. She's so
yeah.
cute.
She bites me, but that's another story.
Right.
It's a playful cat bite.
I love it. Well, thank you. By the way, thank you so much. Where can everybody follow you on social media?
You can follow me at Meet Amy Phillips on Instagram, Real Amy Phillips on TikTok.
And you can check out Amy Phillips' amazing Sirius XM Andy Cohen show, Reality Check. She's 5 days a week, right? 4
Yep.
p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific time. Trust me, it's a fun time. You're going to get all your pop culture news plus some humor out of it and your amazing book. Make sure you guys can pre-sell it, right?
Yeah, yeah, we can it's on pre-sale right now.
And it's Cook It, Spill It, Throw It, the Not So Real Housewives parody cookbook, which will be available in November. And I just love you, Amy. I'm so happy we're fast friends, and thank you so much for your time. You've inspired all of us. Keep inspiring because we need you, and you're just the fresh of breath air. I love complimenting you because I just think you deserve it more and more. Don't think I'm
Thank
creepy.
you.
I
Oh
just
my God.
love
I'm
sharing.
so honored. You made me feel so good. I feel like I can do anything now.
You
Thank
can
you.
do
And same to you.
anything. That's what I should just do. I should just be a hype woman. Some people just have hype women. I was thinking of
Lean
that.
into it. Lean into it.
I'm going to lean into it.
Hey guys, it's Amy Phillips here, and I'm on Chanel in the City with my girl and my bestie, Chanel Omari.